Well, yeah, it was a slow week. We had Jericho, being Jericho stuff, more inner circle drama, which I'm pretty much over the whole inner circle stuff. Either break up or don't. Um, but looks like what are they going to do with or Santana and Ortiz now? Right. Exactly. It just makes no sense to me. Is this where's the storyline go? Are they breaking up Inner Circle? I'd heard rumors that there might be a ousting of Jericho and Sammy becoming the leader, or even MJF becoming the leader. There's just I don't know. I don't know where this is going. It's just it is. I mean, I would have thought All In last year would have been the end of this storyline. Yeah, it was Full Gear when MJF became a member. Um, so I would have thought the storyline would have been done with by All Out last year, because he's been a member of the Inner Circle now for what, a year, close to a year, isn't it? Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. I Yeah, I remember what I was thinking now is I was thinking that it was too early at Full Gear to have the Jericho MJF match. He should have gone through the Inner Circle and worked his way up like Moxley did. Um, but I mean, with all the backstage promos, right? Well, I mean, with all the backstage promos and everything, and MJF kind of being the team leader and getting everybody on page and all this stuff, it feels like Jericho's on his way out, and MJF's going to end up taking over leadership, which I don't know how that's going to sit with Sammy. He said we're not there yet. Yeah. So who knows? But it just, and there was a lot of criticism on Jericho this week for his ability in the ring. Come on, the dude's 50 years old. Maybe he should stop trying to do things like the lion salt, because that was disastrous. But, and he really showed how much slower he is than the 20-year-olds in the ring. But that's not Jericho's fault. He still looks good. He still puts on a good story. He's still got some really good ring presence and ability. I just think people are being a little hard on Jericho at this point. I Yeah, it's true. he did look. This one looked a little bad. Like this one, I was scared he was going to fall on his head. Yeah, Codebreaker has never been one of my favorite moves. When he debuted that, I was actually upset because I wanted anything but that because it just never, it's a reverse lung blower basically, or what do they call it, a face buster. It would have been the back of the head. Yeah, at least they're giving credit to owners of moves because I've been, upset about the fact that they don't call it Death Valley Driver a Spicoli driver. Even though every other organization does. Um, and this episode wasn't a bad episode. It had some decent matches and things like that. That little Spitfire, what's her name? Legit Layla or whatever. Yeah, she's. I've seen her now 3 matches, and all 3 matches she's impressed me. So I enjoyed her on this card. And as much as yeah, yeah, I was actually thinking her move set. She almost looks like Natalia without that really awkward upper torso. Like Ronda Rousey. Yeah, now that you say that, I kind of agree with you there. But as far as Dynamite goes, it was a decent show. They're not going to hit it out of the park every single week. And wrestling's for everybody's got a different cup of tea. Some people might love the inner circle drama. Personally, I'm getting tired of it. I just don't know how this works with Santana and Ortiz going forward. Right. It's in February. Yeah. Well, it's after beach break, and that's in 2 weeks. Um, well, they're not going to be teaming against them. What this match was who was going to be the lead tag team going after the titles, which means they still have to get some wins to even be considered, you know, in contention. They're building the Young Bucks versus SCU um, for whatever the next pay-per-view is, whenever that is. Yeah, I mean they still have to build up to become. This was just to declare who was going to be the tag team that was going to focus on the titles, not that they were going to get a title shot out of this. Right. And basically all that was them setting up a cinematic street fight to for Sting's in-ring return. They could have done it some other way. It didn't. Like, why do we care that, I mean, you're right. I thought that was weird too, because Darby Allin's been the TNT champion for what, 3 months now, 2 months now, something like that. And And it's weird that Sting's going to publicly congratulate him on retaining the title when he probably should have done something in November when he won the title. Right. And it was also weird when, you know, Taz comes out and says that the whole reason they were, that match didn't go their way was because Sting came out and interfered with a bat. And, I'm sitting there thinking the whole time before that, wasn't Ricky Starks getting involved and got kicked in the balls, and wasn't Taz punching people and things like that. It it's kind of that his whole little promo there was almost as annoying as the Moxley got screwed out of a title because of the gentleman's agreement. It's a similar thing where because they still are talking about how Moxley got screwed out of a title, and it's like, wait a minute, he was the one that introduced the barricade and the chairs to begin with. Yeah, didn't damn near break his neck by throwing him into a barricade. It, yeah, I'm right there with you too. That's one of those where they're just not even thinking about logic holes. They're just going with it, saying Moxley screwed in. And at this point, Moxley wasn't screwed out of the title. Let's face it. He tried to end the match before that with his um, paradigm shift into the barricade that damn near broke Kenny's neck. Well, that's one of the WWE loopholes that we've always criticized WWE for doing. Remember when Sheamus and Cesaro were best friends? And that's why they formed their tag team, not the best of seven match that went to a draw. Yeah, me too. Me too. I mean, maybe that was the original storyline, but it clearly didn't happen that way. And at this point, just drop it. Just drop it. You don't have to. You don't have to keep saying it every single time one of those two is on screen. And how about the nice little squash match we got? It's been a long time since I've seen a former champion in a squash match. It was nice. It was fun to see. With Moxley defeating that um, guy we've never even heard about before. It was just nice to see a jobber squash match. It's just something that you don't see enough of anymore. Right? Exactly. Um, as far as yeah, I thought it went off the rails from the start. Like that very first time we met Jade, the promo itself from Cody was off kilter, and then her whole being involved in it, and then her feud with Brandy, which obviously Brandy got pregnant, so we couldn't continue that feud. But yeah, the whole thing's a little off kilter. As far as news this week, we got a couple of decent stories. Renee Young was asked about her possibly going to AEW, and she said she wants to build up another part of her career before she moves in. She said if the storyline was right, she might come to AEW, but she loved her time in the WWF, and she just doesn't want to go on record. She wants to go on record that she's not going to be known for wrestling. So she's trying to build up other parts of her career, like her podcast and things like that. Right. Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of a cool thing to see. You see a lot of people nowadays that once they become a wrestler, that's what they focus on, and that's all they can be. It's kind of nice to see Renee do something different. Um, and then we had the Undertaker, who was actually on Renee's podcast, talking about how he feels he can't even watch WWE anymore. He feels like the WWE has become too soft, and he's not a fan of it. He said that, back when he was younger, all the legends were there to help him become a wrestler, and now there's nobody in the industry to take people under their wing and teach them how to do there's nobody, none of the greats are there to teach them how to work in the ring. And he said it's become too much about flips and flops and not enough. It's just too soft for him to watch, which I think is interesting because he's still under a WWE contract. How do you think that's going to fly with McMahon? First of all, secondly, to say that they don't have legends to teach in wrestling to teach younger guys how to wrestle, ludicrous. I mean, Randy Orton is still one of the better workers in the world when he wants to be. You've still got Chris Jericho, who's there to help the younger people, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, and so on. So, I mean, there's plenty of greats that are out there that can help the younger people along. And you have some guys who are in their mid 30s that have that ability, like a Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn or Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano. These are people that can help younger people along as well. Right. They were being held down by the greats. Right. Well, and not just that. I mean, you could have let your streak go to somebody other than Brock Lesnar. When Roman Reigns defeated him, could you imagine looking at how great Roman Reigns is right now as a heel? Could you imagine had he gotten that 4-year run, 4-year start? Because it felt like they were, after he beat The Undertaker, it felt like they were priming him to be a heel then. And then they left turned, and then of course The Undertaker comes back and beats more people, so it just kind of pushed down the whole thing that that Roman Reigns did. you know and another guy too that's still not too old is AJ Styles. He's another guy that working with people, it felt like it was more disrespect to the people who are great now and can still work with the younger talent than anything else. Right. Well, but people like Mick Foley and Austin don't come back to do those one-off matches. People like The Rock, I mean, he came in and embarrassed Eric Rowan in 8 seconds. Which pretty much buried anything that Eric Rowan would have done after that. I can't remember who it was, but somebody did that. I think it was Hogan did the same thing to Baron Corbin when Baron Corbin was at. No, it was The Rock. It was The Rock again against Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin was finally getting to that point where he was considered at least a decent wrestler, and he was getting some following. And then The Rock comes in and just um, rock bottoms him pretty much to the bottom of the card again. And then, of course, what The Rock did to CM Punk. And I'm not saying that it's The Rock's fault. I mean, The Rock left in his prime, and good for him. He found another course of another thing to do. But it is booking decisions like that that are the reason why we're not creating new stars, because you get somebody that's starting to get a little bit of momentum, like a Baron Corbin or an Eric Rowan, and then you have a legend come in and just decimate them. Happens a lot with Hogan, happened with The Rock more times than I can count. Every now and then you have Austin show up to stunner some guy and he's never the same. To the younger WWE guys. And I'm a little worried that that's kind of what's going to happen with Sting. Like Sting at this point in his career probably shouldn't be in the ring, period, especially after his latest injuries. Um, but if he is in the ring, I don't want to see him do a boneyard match where he goes over. I want to see him putting over the opposition, putting over the younger guys. At that point in his career, that's what he should be doing, is he should be helping the younger guys. If you look at Japan, how many people go in a ring with Minoru Suzuki and don't come out being a bigger star, whether they win or lose? And Minoru Suzuki, he's 52 years old, but he's one of those guys that's he's putting over other wrestlers even if he is winning, because they all look better having been in the ring and stood toe to toe with Minoru Suzuki. Mm. Osprey is another one. Well, I will give credit to Jericho. Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy was a much bigger star after he came out of his feud with Jericho. And Jericho put him over as much as he could. I will give Jericho credit for that. No. Mhm. Well, and you look at the missed opportunities. Matt Hardy with Sammy. The fact that Matt won that feud. We talked about this a while ago. It's like, yeah, I get it. He's a heel, and heels don't normally win feuds. But when you're a guy like Matt Hardy, who is literally at the tail end of your career, putting over Sammy Guevara would have been the way to go. And ever since that feud with Matt Hardy, Sammy's kind of dwindled. He's just kind of there fluttering in the middle of nowhere. Yes, something might be going on with the inner circle, but it's not really focused around Sammy. And um, he's really been, after his feud with Matt Hardy, really kind of been an afterthought. And same thing with Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy got pushed for a little bit, and then so did Scorpio Sky. Jesus, has Scorpio Sky been on TV in 6 months? Kip Sabian had that nice run, then he got engaged to Penelope Ford, and again, another guy. I don't think he might be on Dark, but I haven't seen him on Dynamite other than being Miro's, um, you know, shadow for months. It's been months. So yeah, they're not really good at it. We talked about that being a problem a while back about how it seems like they've got their people that are going to be on Dynamite, and those people are going to be there every single week, while other people are kind of getting pushed to the background. Right. Yeah, for 1 week, and then when are we going to see them again? I think that they have hit and miss. Like, I think NXT is good at building stars, but once they go to Raw or SmackDown, they're just nothing. Um, and I think that AEW has had moments where Orange Cassidy is a much bigger star than he was when he first came in. I will admit, I thought he was a joke, but then his performance against Pac and every other match he's been in, I get why people love him now. Um, and Darby Allin was built up from nowhere. Uh, I don't know if they're going on longer. So two guys. I I don't his first match. Yeah, and I remember saying that guy is what Jimmy Havoc wishes he was. And that was my take on it. And yeah, it probably took a little longer than it should have, but I'm okay with a young guy coming in out of nowhere and building up for a couple of years. I mean, if you look at it, Jay White did the same thing. It took him a couple of years to become that massive star that he is now. That's a possibility. Yes. Or Archer, either Darby or Archer. Definitely shouldn't have been Cody. But did it really mean as much as it could have? Because Brody Lee decimated Cody for that title and then lost it back to, I mean, like decimated, like Brock Lesnar, John Cena decimated. And then Cody comes back a couple weeks later and wins it back. I mean, I think it would have meant more had Darby beaten Cody before he lost to Brody Lee. Yeah, and I think TV titles like that should be defended every single week on TV twice, and they were both pay-per-views. Oh no, I guess the Brian Cage one was an episode. It's hard with and AEW does that a lot, which is why I don't feel the need to spend $50 on a pay-per-view when I'm going to get a pay-per-view quality show 3 times uh, in between their actual pay-per-views. Other news, NXT. It sounds like the USA Network, NHL's contract with NBC Sports is up, and it sounds like the USA Network is a player for the NHL to come, which means that NXT is going to possibly have to move to another night to make room for the NHL on Wednesdays. Now, if they're going, if that is the case and they need to move, um, I would rather see them on Thursday than Tuesday, because Thursday gives us wrestling every single weeknight with Impact. Not that a whole lot of people watch Impact on Tuesdays, but now with their AEW crossover, maybe people will. But then we can have pro wrestling on every single night, which is something I wanted for years. They get bumped by basketball. So I don't I don't know. I guess I can't answer that. I don't know. Yep, it's owned by NBC Universal. Yeah, it's been around for a few years. It's where hockey's been for the last, I think, 3 years. I mean, I'm sure Raw is safe on Monday nights. Um, Usually, hockey nights are Tuesday nights. That's always been it's always been the big Canada hockey night is out usually on Tuesday nights. But the report I heard this morning was that if it comes to fruition, that NXT will possibly move into either Tuesday or Thursdays. So anyway, that's pretty much all the news that I have. I tried to. I feel bad about how Osprey's been kind of treated. No, no. How did it go? I don't have a guess. No. Nice. Interesting. How was Phantasmo? Because I heard the first little bit of Phantasmo on Mike, and I actually enjoyed it. How was he throughout the night? He was the color commentator for. Did you not watch the English version? Yeah, for the first half hour, and then Phantasmo showed up and was there for well, the next two matches I was able to watch, so I know he was there for at least those two. They made a big deal about him thinking that the show started at 6:30, and um, the one you're talking about with Suzuki and Doki in the opening match, that's the one I watched. The latest one from the 25th or the 24th. Okay, so I watched the latest incarnation, so I didn't see that one. Oh, so you watched the one where he won the. Okay. Hmm. Well, the next night, Phantasmo was the color commentator for Kevin Kelly. He showed up at 6:30 and made a big deal of it because Desperado and Caminaro were in the opening match. I guess it was a 4-man or 8-man tag match. So yeah, I should have, but it was still Minoru Suzuki and Doki that were two of the four. So but I should have figured that out when you mentioned it. Anyway, Phantasmo showed up after their match, talking about how he thought the show started at 6:30 and then was his normal um, dickish self. They mentioned, or Kevin Kelly asked him if they were going to give Desperado and Caminaro a rematch. And he goes, absolutely not. Why would we do that when nobody gave us a rematch when Yo and Show beat us? So, I, I I didn't get to hear too much of it because, like I said, I had buffering problems. It was literally giving me 5, 6 second clips of the show, and then it would buffer for 10, 15 seconds. So it became almost unwatchable. Yeah, there's that. There is that. Well, they do so well on their Road to shows. I mean, I will give them credit. Yeah, the one I watched was um, the 24th, but they do such a great job on their Road to shows because everything's a 6-man, 8-man tag. Like I hate those in the actual shows, but during the Road to shows, I don't mind them because they're actually building to the matches through those 8-man tags, 6-man tags, and whatever. So I've never been upset about those. And they usually do throw a pretty decent title match as the main event, or a pretty decent grudge match as the main event, which they did obviously in that one with the tag team titles. What I got out of this is that Suzuki-gun is in a feud now with Bullet Club. I mean, they did ask Phantasmo what he thought of the whole Evil coming in, and Phantasmo was brilliant because he's like, I don't know, they didn't consult me about it when they brought him in. It was a complete surprise to me too. So, that was a interesting little thing. And but no Jay White talk. The only thing I heard was when they were talking about Gato about how Gato is lost now, but they didn't mention Jay White's name at all, which leads me to believe it is a work. Because if it wasn't a work, they would have mentioned his name. I, I don't know. Sounds like, I mean, two of those stars sound like they shouldn't be in an opening match, and the other two stars sound like, or the other two guys don't sound like they should be with Okada and Evil. No, I'm not. I know that they were talking about Evil facing Okada um, on the show I was watching, but like I said, the buffering, I really didn't piece it all together. What's the show that is this the show that they have this weekend? Okay, I was confused then because for some reason I was thinking New Beginning was the 30th. Okay, so when? The big New Beginning card is not till February 10th. Okay. All right, that makes more sense. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely enjoy that. I hope so because I'm very disappointed with the way uh, they're treating the Empire. The Empire to me, ever since all I know is that I feel the same way about them that I'm sure WWF fans feel about Retribution because they've lost so much. I mean, the fact that they could, this is this brand new faction, Will Ospreay, best wrestler in the world, last couple of years, and that faction couldn't get one win at Wrestle Kingdom was disheartening to say the least. Yeah, more than likely. Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, and Shingo, I mean, they treated Shingo like he was the second coming when he came into NJPW. I mean, he went on one like a year and a half winning streak, something like that. So, it's weird to see how they treat different talent, and I'm really disappointed in how they're treating the United Empire because it felt like when Osprey did his heel turn that was going to be the start of something great, and it just feels like it's not great. Ugh. Is it just me, or does it feel like Tanahashi doesn't belong there? Yeah, but I get that. But Tanahashi, I've never looked at as a never championship type of guy. And at this stage in his career, I'm not even sure that he should still be wrestling. So it almost feels to me kind of like a legend killer thing that like Randy did in 04, 05, where he'd find legends and beat them up just to try and raise his profile. The ace of the company. See, and for me, that would make it would make more sense if he was challenging like Okada or something like that, because Okada is now in his prime. If he really wants to be um, going up against the best, it just Tanahashi to me just feels done. No, I know. Ugh. Ugh. Just go back to Heavy Rain as a finisher and make us all happy. My problem with the money clip is that he overuses it. He tries to put it on like 12 times in a match. No, and I mean, if it was solely just a finisher and he only tried to put it on when he was about ready to finish the match, I would have a little more respect for it and be a little more okay with it. But literally, when he was learning how to use it and first bringing it out, it was like 10, 12 times a match he'd put it on. And yeah, true. It looks more like a sleeper hold than anything else. Yeah, and I mean the Royal Rumble looks to be pretty decent this year, as long as they don't trot out a bunch of nostalgia acts. I'll be fine with it. But I think isn't Goldberg challenging Drew McIntyre? Ugh. All right, well, never mind. We'll look into it a little more next week. Yeah, I haven't either. I should. I should do that. I really should. All right. Well, I got nothing else. So, guys, please check out our Patreon. It's patreon.com/Kingdom of Honor. All of our archived stuff that we've done all the way back to 2014 at this point is up there. Small donation, you can hear everything we have done. Also, if you're listening to us on YouTube, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell because we don't just talk wrestling. Sometimes we talk other stuff as well. So, Royal Rumble. Mhm. And leading into that will be, of course, the remainder of season one of Doom Patrol, which I'm looking so forward to. Yeah, Friday night. So yeah, there's that too. So, oh, it's gonna be a busy week. Goodbye.